And if someone's looking to get a survey, which survey should one get?
Starting out your very basic, I say survey, it's the mortgage valuation. So effectively the lender sends the valuer to value the property. The thing with mortgage valuations these days, a lot of lenders are going to AVM. So effectively, no one actually physically goes to the property anymore.
Sure.
Because no one's physically gone out to the property now, you don't know if there's any dampness, any structural movement. It becomes even more important to get a survey. And then from there, you've got a level 2, which is a home buyer report. It's generally for properties of an age of 1990s plus, traditional construction, in good condition, and it will just list obviously all the defects. It covers all the main elements, however, it doesn't go into so much detail. It's just basic format. Let's say if we noted sort of external cracking, in a level 2, it would be in its very basic description that it's identified the location of the cracking, that's pretty much it. Full structural building survey will go into more detailed analysis of the cracking and also repairs that are required. So it gives you a lot more knowledge base, and that will detail all the elements. With the traffic light system, it's green, so condition rating 1, amber condition rating 2, and then red condition rating 3, so your highest level of defect. And throughout the report, all the elements will be structured in a way where it will identify the defects and then categorise them.
So you know which one's a more severe issue.
Yeah, so then when you're looking at the report,
issue,
you can say, okay, these repairs can be done on a medium-term basis, or this repair needs immediate attention.
Right. What are the costings of the level 2 and the level 3 in that case?
It's generally based on the complexity of the building. Home buyers, they generally start around from 600 to about 1,000 odd pounds, and then building surveys generally they are 800 to 1,000 plus there.
Let's say it's a new build property. Would you still need a survey done, or could you take the building warranties and assume them that's okay?
With new builds, actually, we're getting more frequent work to do snagging lists on property, and I'm sure you see from social media now. There's a lot of sort of snagging surveys which are identifying quite a lot of issues with new builds. Yes, a new build does come generally with like an NHBC warranty or another warranty, generally for 10 years. However, they only cover major defects. So you are covered to that extent. Generally with new build properties, they generally do tend to be more cosmetic. However, trying to get a developer to fix cosmetic issues that really should be resolved is extremely hard. Hence why a snagging list does help the situation in order to get those items resolved. Areas that I do find quite commonly that do have issues is drainage to new builds, where they're either sort of non-compliant sort of manholes and drainage runs, or just being really poorly installed, where these days with new builds they are getting put up a lot quicker, and with new regulations coming into place with building control, the Building Safety Act, there's actually less building inspectors qualified to inspect the properties. I'm definitely picking up a lot more issues these days with new builds.
How would you assess when to do a level 2 or level 3 when it's a flat rather than a house? When you buy a flat, you might not necessarily be responsible for the roof and a lot of the other areas.
As you know, and I'm sure a lot of people are aware of, cladding issues. It is something that can be covered in a level 2. With modern flats, those communal areas are encompassed in a sufficient sinking fund.
Sure.
It's covered in a way there by the management company. However, with period conversions flat, it's quite common where these old sort of mansion blocks are converted into a number of flats, and then that presents itself in defects more in line with the property of its age. And with those type of flats, you normally have a share of freehold. Effectively, all the externals are mitigated by the other residents of the flat, sort of you share the costs there. So it becomes even more important to get a full structural survey so you're aware of any up and coming repairs and costings.
How do you choose a surveyor?
Generally you can go onto the RICS website and you can look at surveyor information there. Different surveyors will offer different services. So not all surveyors will offer a drone survey. The same with market valuation, reinstatement costs. And also when you're looking at a surveying company, you want to be looking at the background. You want a company that has a good mix of different specialities. For instance, at Novello, we have a roof specialist, heritage property specialists, leasehold and franchise specialists.
I suppose with a lot of things, because it can be subjective at times in terms of if something is a big issue or if it's not a big issue. Experience probably is one of the most important things there, because someone could assess something and have a very different view and might not think it's an issue when it could actually be an issue in the end.
Yeah, so ideally you want a surveyor who's got a diverse background in surveying.
A lot of people want to know is that once they've done the structural survey and the survey does highlight potentially big structural problems, what should they do in that situation?
So if the surveyor has found a significant structural issue, most likely it's going to require a structural engineer to further consult and to further assess the potential movement of the buildings if it is progressive in nature. From there, they would obviously give you sort of remedial work and also costings. One thing I would say is identify those elements before exchange. So by getting those further investigations before exchange, one, we can find the level of defect in the sense that if it's ongoing, and also remedial costing, so they can be fairly reflected in the purchase price in potential sort of negotiations.